Hello there, this is Debbie Heiser, and I am so stinking excited to share this new season 4 with you. And I can't believe that this is already the 4th season of Lead Your Life with Debbie Heiser. And I just want to thank each of you who listen. And my hope is that the tools, the thoughts and experiences I share, as well as the work I've done to love myself, love others, and love the work I'm called to do, that also helps me lead a truly lit up life, will help you move into a more lit up life yourself. A few things to look for in this season. Super excited to share that we're going to be coming to you now every week with episodes jam-packed with information to serve you. Every other week, you'll hear from a guest who's leading a life that they love, and I'll be asking them to share their stories, how they got there, and any thoughts or advice that they can give you, our loyal listeners. We have new music too, and I'm so thrilled to introduce this song called Ride, sung and co-written by my friend, Miss Jackie Wilson. And she, along with her collaborators, Tyler Banks, David DJ Lee, and Chris Renee, are super talented and generous, as this song fits perfectly into the thought of stepping into your best life. To follow any or all of these talented folks, check out the show notes for their social handles. Thanks again for listening. Enjoy season 4 and do us a solid and leave us a rating and a comment to help us be able to share more with people across the globe. Now, let's get started with this episode.
You're the only one who really can transform your mind.
Hello, and welcome back to another episode of Lead Your Life with Debbie Heiser. I just feel really privileged and honored to have Miss Bridget with us this morning. And Bridget and I met through church, and like we were talking before we started taping this, it was kind of like we knew each other. We'd say hi. We didn't really connect until we connected about wellness, and really started kind of talking then. And it's not that we talk like every week or anything. It's maybe even once every 6 months. And during the pandemic, it was like that whole year just kind of went away for me. Like, I don't even know what happened with that year, but we've connected on and off throughout our time. And we're both from the Sandpoint area. And just Bridget has so much like peace and just this wealth of information about health. And so I really wanted to bring you on to talk about that. And I'm going to let you introduce yourself and kind of talk about what you're calling in the world. What do you do in this world? So Bridget, take it away. Tell us who you are and what you do.
Oh gosh, thank you for such a wonderful introduction. And I just love your heart and the direction you're going with what you're doing. And I'm just so blessed to be here and able to share a little bit about myself and what I'm doing. So I just want to say thanks and a shout out to you.
Thank you.
Oh gosh. So I think, I'm a faith-filled Christian, obviously, and that is what I'm rooted in. And I'm a wife. I've been married for 21 years, and
congratulations.
Thank you. And I'm a mama of 2 phenomenal kids. They're young adults now. I always call them my kids, but
they're always our kids, Bridget.
I know, right? They're always going to be my kids. So and my background's in early child development. I've been a teacher for 17 years. But I think my calling's always been education, I really feel. But I think I started learning more of what my calling really was when I was diagnosed with my own health issues. So that has been a long road for me. And that started in 2010, and fast forward to now. I think, I'm just super passionate, and my mission is just educating others in the holistic health and wellness, field, and just serving and loving others well there, and just lending listening ears and a support system and options to folks and tools and resources. So I'm really passionate about that. And for me, God has blessed me in so many different ways, and, really walked through that and given me strength and endurance and courage and hope. And that's what I want to give to others who are struggling with different health issues. So, yeah.
That's it. Okay. So I want to talk about, how old are your kids? I forget.
my kids are, my youngest is 17 now, and my oldest is 20. So
Okay.
yeah, it's different. We're in a different stage of life, and it's just, it's a lot of fun and crazy and worrisome, but it's all good.
I understand.
You know?
Well, and it's interesting. I was having this conversation the other day about, to me, it's almost like the law of polarity, because I work in a lot in the universal laws. And what's interesting is the law of polarity says you have one thing, but it's got two sides. And parenting to me is the most rewarding, best, like, I don't want to say job because that gives it a negative connotation, but like calling, right? For me, it's been like I've been the most blessed by it, but on the opposite end of it, the most heartbroken, and like the hardest job ever. And I always say too, from like the moment my son was born, it's an act of letting go. Right?
Yes.
Like here they're inside of you, and all of a sudden no more. And every day it feels like it's just a constant act of letting go. And so I hear you saying it's shifting and it's different. And you're right. Like my son's 29, an adult relationship is a little different than a teenage relationship, than a adolescent relationship. And so I'm thrilled because you're going to have so much fun as they continue to get older.
Yeah. And I'm learning that. I say that I love that I've always had a growth mindset. And so I remind myself, wait a minute, you have a growth mindset. So through every little, stage they go through or whatever happens in life, and we're going through it together, I'm like, okay, we're going to learn and grow through this.
Absolutely.
It's going to be a little painful maybe, but we're going to learn and grow. And that's been really helpful. And you're right. It's a process of letting go, and that's so hard sometimes, and be witness to that, especially when you know that they're going to fall, letting them fall. And and that goes for myself too. Like, we learn and grow. If I were talking to one of my parents in my classroom, I would say, kids learn through play. They learn through I think we all learn through doing. And so we do, and we fail, and we learn, and we grow. It's just a process of things. So
yeah,
definitely.
And Bridget, remind me, what age group do you teach?
So my background's in early child development. So from like the 2-year-old to that 4-5-year-old mark.
Okay.
That's been my background for 17 years, and it's kind of shifted. I'm still really passionate about education. It just looks a little differently now in my life. I educate adults now versus kiddos. I still volunteer and serve when I can at my church in the preschool room, but because of my health story, I think that God's been pulling on my heartstrings to work with adults and to really offer up, just my journey to others, and in that, give others hope. And so that's what I've been doing for the last, I guess it's been a little over 4 years now, and it's I'm really enjoying it. And it's from what I'm hearing from clients that I've been working with and stuff, it's been a great benefit to them. So
fantastic.
That's always good.
Service is in your blood. And so let's talk about kind of what led you to this. And I know we talked beforehand. And so I want to find out, like, tell us a little bit about like what happened from a health perspective. In 2010, you found out some things, like you weren't feeling well. Tell us a little bit about that story and what led you into helping educate other adults on wellness.
Yeah, I think, learning who I am today has been a process. It's been a huge process for me. And I think who I thought I was, and the way I was living my life wasn't really the way I was supposed to be living my life. And so that looked like, not making very good, healthy choices in all areas of my life. And it really crashed my world, you might say, because I woke up one day. It was kind of a hectic, stressful time in my life. We were just purchasing kind of what we thought was our dream home. My son was just about ready to turn 9. I was homeschooling our 2 kids and also a couple of other kids. So we had this cooperative homeschool group going on in my home. And I was also trying to work a home job at the time, and just make everything work as a mom and a wife, and keep up on the laundry and all that kind of stuff. And it was just really stressful. And so my heart goes out to every other mama out there who's just being a mom and a wife. It's a hard job. So kudos to you guys for doing the work that you're doing, and just being there to serve your families. And anyways, so my son had a major accident, and I think just the stress was too much on my body. We almost lost him, and
That's scary, Bridget.
it was super scary, and my daughter was witness to it, and she aided in helping me help him. And so not only do I have my son who's needing major help, I've got my daughter who I'm like worried about too, emotionally, and how this is going to affect her. And then there was the whole long recovery. So thankfully, he was in ICU for a week. He's fully, recovered. But it was just a long recovery process. And so during that recovery process, it was the week that we were closing on our home. And he was going to be 9, and all this stuff was going on. So, and then we were in the hospital, and there was financial aspects of it too, that were really stressful. And anyways, it just kind of crashed my immune system. And I woke up, like a month later, and was literally struggling to walk. And there were little signs, like kind of, prior to that, like my hands and feet were swollen. It was harder to, like I was losing some mobility, and I just thought, oh, I've had 2 kids. It's arthritis. This is normal, so I didn't really look into it. I was cold all the time, different things like that.
Can I back you up for a second? Because I really think I have this firm belief that what we're called to do in this world, we can't do it unless our bodies are physically healthy. And so I think you bring up a really good point that a lot of women struggle with, in the fact that when we know internally something's off in our body, we try to justify it and we don't go seek help.
Yeah.
And I'm hearing you say, without saying it, when you feel those things and you see those things, don't justify it, go seek help.
Yep. Yeah. And it is a big part of what I educate on now, because I think as moms, as women, we are natural, like we're fixers. Like we want to put everybody else before our own needs. Right. And there's part of that in having a servant's heart, that we should be doing that. But in order to do that, we have to come from a healthy place ourselves, in a healthy space. And so I wasn't doing that at all. And so it kind of led up to all of this, and me being, maybe prideful, maybe me being stubborn. And, anyways, I finally went in, and my family physician sent me right to a specialist, and long story short, diagnosed me with 4 autoimmune diseases, one of them life-threatening. And I was just like, what? I'm, a young, healthy woman, I thought, and I have 2 kids. Like, this can't be happening to me. So then I fell into denial, and then I fell into victim mode and depression, and, all that comes with that. And it really wasn't until I hit rock bottom, until everything was falling apart around me. And I was like, what is going on? And where I had to literally look at look at my fears, you might say, look at everything that I was running from, and then ask myself what I was going to do about it. And because nobody was going to come in and rescue me, nobody could solve these problems for me. I had to, see what resources I had, and then do the work. So and that was hard. That was really hard because I had great support systems.
Good.
God gave me the courage and endurance to face all of that and walk through that. And then, I had, like I said, great support systems that were there, helping me. But it was definitely hard. You have to live a little bit differently, and you have to surround yourself with people and put yourselves in an environment that's going to support all that. So that meant walking away from different, choosing a different lifestyle and walking away from things that were unhealthy. So anyways, but now kind of fast forwarding, and it's kind of interesting because as you move forward, you're like, oh, I'm feeling better, I'm doing better. But it's not till something pops up. Like I had a picture pop up just the other day. I was sharing with my daughter, and I was like, oh my gosh, and I was asking her what she saw in this picture, and she was describing what she saw, which was totally different from what I saw. And what I saw was a woman who was being supported physically, her body being held up by her husband. And what she saw was, everything else in the picture. And it just really opened my eyes to where I was, reminded me of where I was and where I'm at today. And also reminded me of what I was told by my first doctor. And, it kind of keeps fueling that fire in my belly to help and serve others, and just to kind of get the word out that, hey, everybody with autoimmune diseases, like, you have options, natural holistic options that help, fight the disease and heal your body versus feed it and cover it up. So, anyways, yeah.
Well, and Bridget, I want to go back too, because one of the like basic principles that I have that I mentioned earlier was like taking care of your body. And when you talk about serving, like servant leadership is my mojo, like that's what I teach at Gonzaga. And I just love that. And one of the things that I talk about, and I wish I could claim this as my own, but I got it from Rachel Hollis, and whether or not people like Rachel Hollis or not, like I just really love this example. And she talks about a vase, and how we're all this vase, right? Like we're this container, and we have an unending supply that comes into us. And when that unending supply, that's self-love, that's self-care, there's scripture that talks about love your neighbor as you love yourself. And so like I preach this sometimes because we forget that as we love ourselves piece of it. And self-care is in wellness. It's about thinking about who is the healthy woman, right? And what choices that person makes, not so much the goal itself, but like, what are the characteristics of that person? And so when we're doing those things, we're filling that vase. When we get to a point, and what I was hearing you say is life happens, right? But you were pouring out. And when we pour out, we turn our vase, and that cuts off the unending supply that we receive. And so then we deplete ourselves and turn our vase back up and try to fill back up, and we're exhausted and worn out and tired. And then we turn it back over, versus standing tall and realizing that serving other people means that we also take care of ourselves and allow that to come in so that people get our overflow. And it seems counterintuitive, but I hear you saying that without coming right out and saying it, meaning that, like, tell us a little bit more about wellness. Like what's important to you about that? Because to me, that's part of that unending flow, and what can overflow to other people. Because even the energy of overflow is very different than pouring out.
Yeah, I agree. I totally agree. And I think, I want to I want to just say, like, I think most women, most mamas think of, well, if I put myself first, I'm being selfish. And it's not the same. Like, I mean, it can be the same, but as far as like, you have to make sure that, I mean, for me, wellness is all about, for me, that looks like, making sure that I'm getting enough sleep, making sure that I am taking my vitamins so that my moods are, leveled off versus up and down. Making sure that I'm exercising, whatever that looks like for me with my health issues. Back then, I could not even walk out to the mailbox or even across my living room without feeling lightheaded. And now I'm able to hike. I'm able to walk like 8 miles. My daughter and I are running. Like, there's just so much more. So exercise is huge. For me, it's about being in the Word and just taking time to, be thankful for my blessings. And really, I think it's not just about prayer. I think we need to be prayerful, but we also need to be thankful and be in the Word. When we come from a grateful heart, when we are being grateful throughout the day, we have less time to whine and complain, and we have less time to think about all the negativity, right? So I think that's part of having a healthy mind. And it's about eating for our body's needs, just not thinking of food as, I live to eat, but I eat to live. And what does that look like for my body? For me, I have to be really careful of how much wheat, gluten, and sugars and inflammatory foods I eat. Because if I consume that on a daily basis, I'm going to be back to the point of not being able to walk. So that's what that looks like for me. And I really think there's like the 3 key areas: spiritual, mental, and physical awareness. And that we as women, as people, need to be aware of and really kind of tap into and figure out what that looks like for each one of us, and make sure that we're prioritizing that for ourselves every day. And maybe that is only 15 minutes here and 15 minutes there, but I think it's super important, because like you said, if we don't, then it just kind of spirals and we get burnout and we get, and
then we get autoimmune diseases.
Exactly. We get toxic. So
and it's dis-ease, right? So like our body is not at ease. And and I might add too, and maybe we can talk just a little bit about this before we close up this episode, but like, I love the fact that you're looking holistic at it. And I know for me, it took me a long time also to be able to take care of my own emotional health, right? Like being able to acknowledge and say, it's okay to be angry. It's okay to be sad. It's okay to be afraid. It's not okay to stay in that for a long time, but it's important to process that emotion, because what I found is that it was unhealthy for me because I would stuff that, and then it would manifest itself in different ways, whether that be illness, whether that be me overeating, whether that be me trying to soothe myself in some other way. Right. And so like that emotional part of it that kind of goes in with the mental and the spiritual aspect of it. And I found it really important to step back and, like, as you say, I love how you bring in the prayerful piece of it too, and the being in the Word, because to me, the Word is where I hear messages too, but it's like also taking the time to stop and listen, and do some meditation. And, that's why I love to get out. You were talking about hiking and get out in nature. And we live in one of the most beautiful places in the world. And so it's easier, I suppose, although it can be done from anywhere, but easier for us to just walk up the street or drive 2 miles and we're at a great trail that, we can go and just get kind of lost and really listen for those messages. So if kind of talking about that, if you were to give our listeners like 3 things that you think are really critical to maintaining holistic wellness, What would you say those three things are?
I think, first of all, God, we can't do anything without him. And he is the way, he's the only way. And secondly, I think you really have to know who you are, like what kind of learner you are. For me,
Yeah.
I have to see it, hear it, and do it.
Yeah.
And so, the second piece is just follow a plan that works good for you. And I don't mean a diet plan. I mean like a life plan that includes spiritual, mental, and physical, health. And and then, make sure that you're being intentional and staying consistent with it. For me, that looks like blocking out time, on my calendar and setting a reminder in my phone that hey, it's me time. It's my time in the Word, or hey, it's me time. It's my time to go exercise for an hour and a half, whatever that looks like. To make sure that I'm meeting my needs, so that I can give 100% to, other people, my family, and, the people, my clients, the people that I'm, wanting to serve. So.
Great. Well, Bridget, thank you so much for being on. If someone wanted to find out a little bit more about what you do, can they find you on social media? Do you have a website? Share with us.
Yeah, definitely. They can go to healthychoiceswithbridget.com. It's kind of a long website. I'm working on that. Definitely not one of my strong suits. And then I'm also on Facebook, Healthy Choices with Bridget. So.
Okay. So Healthy Choices with Bridget, go out and check out what she's doing. And, I just think it's so wonderful to see and hear how you've come from this place that you could have been really in despair, and you chose to educate yourself and really embrace what the autoimmune diseases that you have and say, I'm going to live my life and I'm going to lead this really lit up life and do what I love and be a fantastic wife and mom and spiritual person, and this person that helps other people realize that same thing. And so thank you so much for sharing everything that you have today. I appreciate it.
Yeah. And thank you so much for having me on here.
Absolutely.
And I just love your heart and what you're doing. So
thank you.
Yeah, thanks for your time.
Absolutely. And so this wraps another episode of Lead Your Life with Debbie Heiser. If you want to find out more about what I do, I help entrepreneurs make a lot of money doing what they love without sacrificing what's important to them. And feel free to check me out on social or www.leadyourlituplife.com. And with that, everybody have a fantastic day, and we'll see you at the next episode.